Second language learning and error analysis. So gradually, as contrastive analysis failed to produce the kind of results that were expected of it to facilitate second language learning, a shift was made towards error analysis. So what is error analysis? Error analysis is a systematic investigation of the errors of the learner's language. Now, you can see the shift over here. The shift is from looking at the learner's first language and comparing it with the second language that was the target language that is to be learned. We are now looking at the language produced by the learner as he or she uses the second language to the extent they can. This was first of all introduced by Corder in 1967. So how did this interest come to be? The interest came to be because the task of the contrastive analysis was too huge to be done, and it was also not giving us the results that we wanted to use them in the classroom. So what was the kind of result that we wanted from the contrastive analysis? We wanted the contrastive analysis to tell the teachers teaching a second language which are the areas which will be more difficult for the learners to learn, so that they could use certain drills and focus on those areas, and what were the areas that would be comparatively easier for the children to learn, so that they could move quickly from simple or easier tasks to the more difficult tasks or areas of difficulty. When contrastive analysis failed to do this job, then came the focus on the learner's language. So remember, this is the language that the learner is using, and this is the second language that the learner is attempting to use. It is not his or her mother tongue that we are talking about. Now, research that was triggered by this error analysis, when researchers started to look at the second language as used by the learner during the time he or she was in the process of using second language or learning second language, it was realized that the errors that the learners made did not necessarily emerge from the first language. That is, although, for instance, we take the example of were and what, so maybe there was a transfer of the sound of were from Urdu to W that became were instead of were. Yet it was not that all the errors that the students or the learners were making originated from their first language. So there were other sources of errors also. So what was it saying then? It said, yes, there was interference of the first language as the second language was learned, but this was not the cause of a majority of the errors. Another interesting thing that emerged was that there was a considerable variation in the findings. So in certain studies, the problems originating from the first language were only 3%, while in other studies, the problems emerging from the first language of the learners was seen to be 51%. So between 3% and 51% of errors emerging from the mother tongue or the first language of the learners, the variation was just too much to make any sense. So a main person or the main people who worked over here are Dewey and Burt, in case you would like to look up in this research. And this we are talking about 1970s, 1973, early 1970s.